The winter of 1896 brought more than snow to the timber camps of northern Wisconsin. It brought a nightmare that still prowls the darkest corners of Oneida County. A creature so terrifying that grown men abandoned their wages and walked barefoot through frozen forests just to escape its reach. The Lumberjacks called it the Hodag, and those who heard its blood-curdling roar mimicking the screams of dying men were never the same. My name is Thomas Garrett. I was 29 that winter, working MacGruder's lumber camp 8 miles north of Rhinelander. 42 men, all of us swinging axes 12 hours a day, trying to fell enough white pine to pay our debts. The work was backbreaking, but the camaraderie kept us sane. At least, it did at first. December brought the first sign. Our horses refused to haul timber from the north section. Not spooked, refused. They'd rear and scream if you tried to lead them past the frozen creek. Old Samuel, our teamster, found tracks there, clawed prints bigger than a bear's, but wrong, 4 toes instead of 5, drag marks between them like something had scraped a tail through the snow. Probably just a wounded buck, Finn McAllister said. He was our crew boss, always loud, always confident. But Samuel didn't laugh. Ain't no buck. It smells wrong, like hot metal and rotted meat. 3 nights later, we heard it. I was half asleep when the sound cut through the camp, a roar that started low like distant thunder and rose into something that made my teeth ache. It wasn't animal, it wasn't human, it was both and neither, a shrieking wail that twisted at the end into something that sounded like words, like it was trying to speak. Every man in that bunkhouse went silent. The roar came again, closer. This time I heard it clearly. It sounded like a man screaming for help, but the pitch was off, stretched too long. Then came the smell. Sulphurous and sharp, mixed with something sweet that made bile rise in my throat. In the morning, Jacob Torrance was gone. His boots sat beside his bunk, laces still tied. His coat hung on its peg, but Jacob was gone, and the only trace was a dark smear on the floorboards near the door that looked like old blood mixed with something oily. We found him 2 days later. He was half buried in snow a quarter mile into the pines, and I wish I could forget what I saw. His skin was gray and desiccated, like he'd been dead for months. Long puncture wounds ran down his torso, 8 or 9 of them, perfectly spaced. The wounds didn't bleed. They wept a yellowish fluid that had frozen in streaks. Samuel touched one of the punctures and jerked back with a hiss. "Still burning," he said, showing us blistered fingertips. That night, 3 men deserted, just ran into the darkness. The rest of us barricaded the bunkhouse. We kept fires burning all night, axes and rifles within reach. The paranoia ate us alive. Men accused each other of theft, of cowardice. Finn drank himself mean and nearly killed a man over a borrowed knife. I was on watch when I saw it. 3 in the morning, moon bright on snow. It stood at the tree line, maybe 60 yards out. Frog-like body, massive and low-slung, with legs bent backward. Spikes jutted from its skull in jagged rows. A thick tail dragged behind it, and the moonlight passed through parts of its body like it wasn't entirely solid. It opened its mouth and roared. The sound was Jacob's voice, Jacob's death scream perfectly replicated. Then it stepped forward, and I saw its breath. Not steam, vapor, greenish and corrosive, dissolving the snow where it touched. I fired 3 shots. The thing didn't flinch. It just faded, like smoke pulled apart by wind, dissolving into the shadows. By dawn, 11 men remained. The others had fled in the night. I left that camp on December 23rd, walking through knee-deep snow with nothing but my journal and the clothes on my back. The newspapers later called it a hoax, said a man named Eugene Shepard invented the whole thing as a prank. Maybe he invented his version. But whatever I saw in those woods, whatever took Jacob Torrance and drove 40 lumberjacks mad with terror, that was no hoax. I still smell that acidic sweetness sometimes in my nightmares, and on cold December nights when the wind howls through the pines, I swear I hear that roar. They say the Hodag haunts Oneida County still. I believe them. I'll believe them until the day I die.